They told you what to chase, told you how to run the race. Every move was on the page, but I didn't like their way. Had to fight and misbehave, had to find a way to change, had to leave to find my way. Caught up in a daydream, I beat my mind up there almost daily. It's how I pass time, no opinions safely. It's how I understand what I want in this place.
I don't know if you guys have heard of Gurkha Soldiers. They're soldiers that come from Nepal, and they are usually special forces. In World War I and World War II, they became famous for being so tough. And they're still usually the first ones into any kind of war because they are so tough. The reason why these soldiers were so tough is because of the situation they lived in since they were born. Most of these guys were born in the mountains. They just slept on the floor around a fire. Didn't have too much to eat. As far as comfort, there wasn't much comfort in their lives. And they were used to carrying heavy loads up and down huge mountains. And so they were extremely tough and rough people. And so when they went to war and they were given proper nutrition, they were given beds to sleep on, the conditions were better for them in war than during their normal life as a child. And because of all the pain they went through as a child, they were extremely tough and were extremely valuable as soldiers. Let me read a Bible verse for you guys. It's in James 1, verse 2-4. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking in anything. One of the hardest things to do as a Christian is to consider it pure joy whenever we face trials of many kinds. That is really hard to do. It takes a lot of faith to do that. And it also takes a commitment to what's ahead. You really have to be focused on what's ahead of you in order to take pure joy in the problems that you have right now. You know, the testing of your faith produces perseverance. It basically produces strength of character, strength in various ways. They say that astronauts, when they go into space for about 10 days, will lose 20% of their muscles in only 10 days because there is no longer gravity to cause problems for them, basically. Gravity is not pulling them down, so their muscles are no longer exercising. They are not facing the troubles that they usually have here on Earth, if we consider gravity to be a trouble. But the gravity, only something like gravity, will strengthen you. It will make you stronger, and you lose that as soon as there's no more problems and no more hardships in your life. Let me read to you another verse. 1 Corinthians 11, verse 18-19. For first of all, I hear that there are divisions among you when you come together in the church, and in part I believe it. For there must also be heresies among you, so that those who are approved might be known among you. You know, as people, we have to be tested. Nothing can happen unless we're tested. You cannot pass exams unless you're tested. You cannot do anything unless you have tests. And God tests us as people. He wants us to know if we truly love Him or not. Paul is saying to the Corinthian church that there has to be heresies in the church in order to test your faith, to see if you truly love God and His Word, and to see who is approved, who will pass the test, and who will not pass the test. And so, when we are tested, our character is tested as a Christian, we should consider it pure joy, because God is testing us to see if we're faithful, and we can show Him at that time that we do love Him and that we do care for Him. Another reason why we should be happy when we're tested is that while we're tested, we can become stronger and stronger Christians, because as Christians, our ultimate goal is to be like Christ. And we want to become like Him. And in order to become like Him, we're going to have to strengthen our character. We're going to have to face trials like He did in order to be more loving, more gracious, more merciful, and all of these things. And if that is our life goal, then when we are tested, we can say, well, I'll consider that joy because I'm moving towards the right direction. One thing that's interesting about life is that once we get to heaven, we will not be able to be like Christ, in as we won't be able to love our enemies in heaven, because there are no enemies to love in heaven. We won't be able to help the poor in heaven, because there are no poor people in heaven. So if you want to be like Christ, you have to do it now, and it's going to take a lot of testing and a lot of strength and a lot of character to do that. And therefore, James says, consider it pure joy when you're tested, because that produces perseverance, and that will make you into a Christ-like person. Listen to what 1 Corinthians 9 says, verse 24 to 27. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the game goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. No, I strike a blow to my body and make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize.
I will run away, I don't have to plan it. I can go, change my fate, you won't understand it. All alone, that's okay, people I can't stand them. They don't want me to change, keep me where I'm standing. And I don't wanna be where I am, and I want something more, take a chance. It could be possibly my last dance, my last dance. I don't wanna let myself down, myself down. I don't wanna let myself down, myself down.
Not only as Christians do we want to be like Christ, but we also have complete faith that there is heaven coming for us. There is a reward coming for us. It's not just that we'll have eternal life, but there's going to be a crown. There's going to be a reward for us in heaven. And therefore we run the race in order to get that crown, is what Paul says. We do not live life aimlessly. And if any of you have run races, you know that it is not easy. It is painful when you train. It is hard. You get cramps. You go in the cold. You go in the rain. It's not easy. And those who do run, do it with joy, because they are looking forward to the crown. They're looking forward to the benefits of running, whether it be physical or other. So as Christians, we're happy for tests and problems in our lives, because it's an opportunity to change our character to be more Christ-like. And it is also an opportunity for us to run the race well in order to get the crown at the end that we have complete faith in. You cannot have joy in trials unless you have faith in where you're heading, unless you have faith in heaven. The last thing we have to think about when we're thinking about problems in our lives, unless we had problems in our lives, we would never trust God. It's a known fact that when life is good, no one turns to God. Everybody is proud, thinking, oh, life is good because of me. I made all this money and I have this good life because I'm so good and I'm so smart. It is only when you have troubles in life that people turn to God. And that is why we should also delight in troubles, because troubles teach us that we are not good enough, that we cannot do things on our own, and that we need someone else's help, and that person is God, and we need God's help in our lives. So troubles help us to focus on God so that we continue in faith with Him, and ultimately that will bring us to heaven. You know, as Christians, there is no place for complacency, for laziness. The Bible lists laziness along with sins such as adultery in several places. We cannot live half-heartedly, and therefore, when we come into situations where we're having a rough time, we can choose to have faith that God has brought those tests to us to make us stronger, to make us more like Him, and to make us rely more on Him. Ultimately, in order for us to run the race well and to rejoice in suffering, we need faith that God is going to reward us, that God is teaching us, and that God is with us. I hope that while you are having a hard time in your life, you will be able to remember those things, and that God will strengthen you and make you more like Him.